Despite all the distractions, intended and unintended intimidations, we are still back to the fundamental issues. Will Nigeria ever be really free? Will Nigerians ever be free as free citizens to exercise all their human and constitutional rights, to live in every part of this country as free citizens, lawful citizens of Nigeria? These are still these fundamental questions. Are we able to exercise our rights fully? The rights to life, liberty, and prosperity. Should we create a framework ever where all our energies, all our God-given energies can be unleashed in the service of our citizens, wherever they may live, within their own ethnic nationalities and beyond to the other 450 odd ethnic nationalities in this nation? These are still the fundamental questions that have been thrown up by recent events. We must never give up. I spoke frequently and stayed closely with MKO Abiola of blessed memory. He believed in these principles along with other Nigerians. We must never depart from that path. Nobody should distract us with foreign ideologies, foreign religions, or foreign customs. Nigerians have a richness of language, religion, and culture of their own. All that is left for us is to act as common citizens with a common heritage. One will not want to put all this down to economic determinism, but I think it is clear that the fact that we are not able to define, sustain, and implement the right economic policies that will free the vast resources of this nation, from the delta to the semi-desert, from the woods to the Sahara land. We have multiples and multiples of resources we should unleash, because it is by doing this we are able to empower our citizens so they can stand by their rights. When people are fed, when people are housed, when people are educated, when they are healthy, when they can move around freely, it is only under these conditions that they can really regard themselves as free citizens. We must never be deluded into believing that exporting crude oil and even that we have lost the money in the last 7 years, exporting and importing other people's goods, even from China and India, on whose backs we should have ridden to greater heights in agriculture and manufacturing. So I believe that we should always observe this day, always, to the extent that we are still very deficient in all the hopes and aspirations that were unleashed by this unifying factor, the June 12th movement. So I welcome you all to another observation of this epoch, this very important unifying movement. We must continue to press for free and fair elections. We must continue to press for proper husbanding of our resources. The days of misuse, the days of brigandage, the incidence of waste is gone beyond what any nation can really just absorb. We are hemorrhaging from every pore. Let this event today remind us all that we still have a sacred responsibility to reach greater heights. We are hardly where we ought to be. It's projected that by some people that by 2050 or 27 years from now, Nigeria could well be number 3 in population behind India and China. The economy could be perhaps the 9th or better or around the 9th largest in the world. But clearly, this seeming illusion now can be more than a reality, but we must face squarely the task of mobilizing to fight ignorance, to fight disease, to fight sectionalism, to fight discrimination of all sorts, all the vices that stop Nigerians from the far north to the far south from being able to achieve the result of their labor, to reap the fruits of their labor and achieve the heights that are conferred on them by divine creation. As I said, we should not continue to wallow in a flowering, ephemeral, vanishing, unreal issues in our society. We are yet to really grasp any single subsector as it were under our belt. Our agriculture is still primarily primitive, and it is now being disturbed by all kinds of internal strife. We have not gone anywhere close to developing the basic agriculture to the extent in terms of productivity of our soil or productivity per man working in agriculture. Not to talk of refining and packaging and all kinds of other value added in that particular sector, which is a major thing that should put Nigeria on the map. Then you move on to the manufacturing. We haven't achieved very much. We should be close to producing 30-35% of our GDP from the manufacturing sector, excluding even the agricultural sector. And as if that was enough, we can also already see the glimpses in the services sector, in the film industry, in all kinds of other utilities and service areas beyond this basic agriculture and manufacturing. But we cannot do this until we develop our infrastructure. We cannot develop our infrastructure if we continue to allow the waste, rather than building and leveraging on our resources to make sure we have the best roads, the best bridges, the best hospitals, the best schools, like we're supposed to have, to sustain and expand reliable communications, and above all, to have uninterrupted power supply from the varied resources of energy that we are endowed with. So when you range over all these areas, we should stop being like feeling that we already have it all. We don't. In fact, we have not really started in relation to the potential that this country has. We've been talking this potential for 60 odd years. It is time enough for us to press on, to use these resources to achieve the kind of wealth and position that is conferred on Nigeria by our resources, so we can be a beacon of hope to our neighbors in the sub-region, to our neighbors in the continent, and also as a beacon to our people who are forced to leave our shores hundreds of years ago in America, Latin America, and the Caribbean, and so on and so forth. They are waiting for Nigeria, along with other nations in Africa. So we should really focus on the meaning of June 12th as something just beyond the elections. It is the only way we can show that we are as human as everybody else. We cannot be stampeded by impunity and lawlessness and organized brigandage of our resources. So once again, I thank you all, and we must press on until we feel we are getting close to that edge where Abiola in his grave will say, yes, my people, you have carried on. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu. Before you go, what's your position or your intervention on the fuel subsidy crisis raging?
Well, a lot of these things several years ago. Subsidy, we have not quite understood the point of this issue. The issue is not that subsidy is inherently bad. In fact, subsidy, as used by many countries all over the world, you have to interpret it in terms of the way to help the production function until it matures. So it's something that can be selective both in number and in time. So there's nothing wrong as such with subsidies. You use it to help farmers, you use it to help artisans, you use it to help manufacturers. They can come in terms of tax holidays and things of this sort. You use it as an intervention with as a safety net to recognize the fact that a lot of people are not able to help themselves for reasons beyond their power to control. In the Nigerian case, the subsidy situation has been
Hello? You are muted. You are muted. Hello, sir. I may have to call him. He's muted.
Can we take some others while we wait for him?
No, let me call him. Let him just round up. He suddenly muted his. Let him just round up. Hello, sir. Sir, no. You were muted. You said in the case of Nigeria. You said hello, sir.
Subsidy in the case of Nigeria.
Hello, sir.
Demonstrative of our full understanding. When you have leakages from many pores, you have to clean those pores. You have to close those pores, those leakages. That is the only effective way of removing subsidy. In the meantime, by closing these pores means you are delivering services, goods, services, safety nets, and so on and so forth, so that the sharp impact of a removal will not be felt. And of course, every case like this is always the more vulnerable that feels it the most. No subsidy removal should involve an instant tripling or quadrupling of general price level of the prices of normal goods, food, shelter, fuel, and so on and so forth. When you leave it to grow by this much, as we did, it needs to be phased out with a clear demonstration of all the corporate policies that you have to put in place. So make sure that, yes, as you withdraw the subsidies, the economy is responding, everybody is getting better in terms of their earning capacity and so on and so forth. So the only problem I had with an instant removal is that instant removal that does not recognize the fact that a sharp removal means quadrupling and quintupling of oil prices, and that is not desirable under any situation. Other than that, what apart, as I said, from using subsidy in a positive sense to encourage investment and production and saving and so on and so forth, when you need to remove it, you have to do it over a short phase, which, whether it's 6 months or 1 year, needs a empirical study that will inform you as to the best way to remove the subsidy without, as it were, upsetting the whole apple cart. So that is the question with subsidy.
Thank you, sir.
I see the government is scrambling now to make sure that they put in place things that will reduce the impact. But it is very difficult when the price is so high in terms of an instant reaction from the removal of subsidy. And of course, in removing subsidy, we should focus on instant stopping and punishing those who have brought in so much fraud into it. So there's the exchange rate effect, there is the fraud effect, and of course, the need to create the capacity. A few years ago, we thought the best thing we could have done was to build more refineries, to privatize the ones we had, and to make sure we refined in time so that we brought back what we needed and sold the rest out there. That was the recommendation. But, you know, as government works, it wasn't possible for them to adopt it for whatever reason. So this is a very critical thing. And why it is so sad, it is coming on top of what everybody accepts as botched elections to a very large extent. And that is even coming on the heels of a most needless cashless policy that was put in place, which is still reverberating from our rural areas to cities and so on and so forth. These are three great whammies at equal. very few societies can really survive this. But recognition is important. Once we recognize the impact of these three very grievous policies on our economy, that is a thing that will enable the leadership to see through how it can solve the problems. We are in deep problem right now, and we didn't need another one to come on top of it. So we should stop it. So this celebration of Emperor Abiola, June 12. So bring us all, honestly, as Nigerians, regardless of our party affiliation, regardless of our ethnic, not to mention the totally irrelevant intrusion of religion, we should honestly come to grips. At least let's identify the problems. Let's honestly identify the problem. Let's stop sweeping anything under the carpet. Let's realize that we are not talking just for this generation. We're talking for future generations. We cannot bequeath to them a system that is as broken as what we are in now. So I wish us all luck in identifying our problems, in determining to face up to the problems. The problems we have are not the problems of Igbo, Hausa, Fulani, Efik, Ibibio, Ijo, and so on and so on. They are the problems of Nigerians. We are all Nigerians, and we should face these problems and stop adding on things that don't really come to grips with addressing our common problems all over this nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu, for that very profound intervention. So it's clear to us that things are not right economically, because you are a veteran. You are an experienced economist, one of the best in Africa, if not the world. We appreciate your intervention, and this will instruct us on what to do going forward. It means that Nigerian citizens will tighten their belts and really resist this, because you have laid the foundation there that the sharp removal of subsidy is not going to help the economy and the people of Nigeria. It's going to further dislocate, and that is what we are hearing. So are you speaking to them already? Because you have the opportunity to speak as a vet. Are you really talking to government? Are you?
Well, I wouldn't say I have no access, but you see, you can have access. The only relevance of access is where you now see some of the things you are saying, or one has been saying for years, being somehow slowly, put into policy pronouncements. So I've listened to a few statements now that are giving me hope that at least we are moving forward. But we cannot afford to rest on our oars. We must see the length of the problem. As I said, there's not one single subsector we can say we've absorbed under our belt. We have to really reorganize the constitutional structure, the production structure, our foreign relations, our social mobilization in every sense of the word. And I had always advised that perhaps what we need to do is break down the local governments into less units that can handle so many projects. Mm-hmm. Remove this so-called indigenous problem, which is a danger to Nigerians. Back in the early colonial days, Nigerians were all over the place. They could do their business all over the place. How can we now lessen that absence of such stratification when we have the right to decide what to do? If the colonial power didn't do that, why should we break people into compartments from which they are stratified? But the answer to that is that leadership must follow up with correct principles that will create the breadth and wealth of opportunities. When Nigerians see the horizon opening up before them, they will be focused on their chances to advance themselves, not on what the neighbor speaks or where the neighbor worships or whatever it is. Thank goodness we don't add color of skin, although some people might construe that as a factor. But a lot of things we say flow from the structure, but we must not build a structure that is also now aligned on ethnic lines. Let's talk about development units, viable development units that can handle all kinds of development projects, except for the very largest ones, which because of the benefits of the economies of scale will be better left to the zonal level or to the national level. So perhaps that is the sense we can talk about restructure. Let's restructure to development units. So people can produce, they can save and invest and produce. Labor can be hired to undertake just about every major project except the very largest. We should build mass transit structures to unite our people. This was the idea of the mass transit program several years ago, but we never quite got there. Railways should go to every city. Power supply should be available. By now, Nigeria should be one of those that have uninterruptible supply because of the wealth that is yet to be tapped, because of the intensity, the quality of the natural resources to harness enough power so that people have light. A few years ago, it got so bad, people couldn't even study in boarding houses because they didn't even have light. This was brought to my attention. And these issues need to be seen on a much larger scale, not just in the scale of a state or a zone. It's a national thing, and this thing should be given initially to those who know best how to produce them. These days in Nigeria, over the years, we're used to these things like people wanting to acquire property. They want to own power station. They want to own communications. They want to own this and that. But the issue is to provide for the masses what is available on a reliable basis. So to me, this is what the restructuring is all about. Not just fine grammar in a written constitution, but that constitution should now remove this whole notion of indigents. People being extracted where they were born or not able to carry on their legitimate businesses wherever they live. These are the restructuring. We must find a way to change. So I order Nigerians under the aegis of this June 12 movement. Let's go back. This concerns everybody. This concerns everybody. This is what we've agreed to do. We've agreed to stay together. And the whole world, despite all the smudges and all the problems we have, they still look to Nigeria. I am in touch with a lot of my friends in West Africa and beyond. They still look to Nigeria with all our blemishes. That should spur us to action. We must get serious and not try to sweep things under the carpet. I had the word impunity mentioned. This is one of the things that distract us. The law must be applied to every citizen. The law has to be observed by the high and mighty. The resources have to be spread. Not some people waking up one morning and ordering all kinds of packages for very few who happen to serve under all kinds of guises in government. We must think about people having water, having light, having security. Security. We must think of people having access, safe access from one village to another village, from one town to another town, from one zone to another zone. This is the essence of freedom, and that is what our forefathers fought for. So we cannot go against those things and think we are moving forward. We are not.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu. I see that the NSC president has sent in a representative.